Team, I have not forgotten anything from the fight over Justice Kavanaugh's nomination. It's seared into my brain. It was one of the most important, for me at least, for my politics today, one of the most important periods of post 9/11 American history that I could point to tell us why things are the way they are these days and where it's all going. And I particularly remember the media's role in all of this. I remember we were living in an alternate universe where the word credible all of a sudden meant the opposite of credible, where evidence was merely an accusation without any foundation or underpinning of fact to it whatsoever. And people were willing in the media to pretend to be, or perhaps to just embrace the reality of being, so stupid that it was almost unimaginable. I mean, they were willing to say, no, we in the mainstream media are too dumb to understand what's going on here, because then we can just move past the obviousness of what's really going on with particularly Christine Blasey-Ford. Dr. Ford, as we were all told we had to refer to her. Christine Blasey-Ford. They would say, and I remember this, why would she lie? This was a refrain. This was a talking point. Why would she lie? And people like me, and you go back and listen to the shows from the summer of 2018 if you want, and it'll be quite clear. Why would she lie? Because she's going to be a hero to the left. Because she deeply, personally, ideologically believes in abortion and the need to keep that legal for all 9 months of a pregnancy in all 50 states. She got the opportunity to be a hero to left-wing women, to boomer feminists for all eternity, to get book deals and speeches. And why would she lie? She had every incentive to lie under the circumstances of who she was and what was going on then. And the media pretended like they couldn't figure that out. Like we wouldn't all know right away. We didn't know at the time that she would be a heroine, not hero, heroine to the left. Buck, how did you know? Everybody knew. But the media was, she has no reason to lie. That's what they were all saying. Again, just like when Pelosi talks to us about impeachment proceeding, they speak to us as though they really believe we are all idiots. And I don't know if they're so dumb they believe that, or I don't know how we're supposed to react. I hope the American people are not so stupid as to listen to Nancy Pelosi, but clearly I might give us too much credit. Here's Dr. Christine Blasey-Ford accepting the ACLU's Courage Award. Play 21.
It's really great when women step up for other women. And it's really great when men show up for women.
Cheering, celebrating her. And remember, they're not just celebrating her, they're celebrating her specifically because she was part of the ugliest smear campaign I have ever seen in American politics. The nastiest, most underhanded, most dishonest thing I have ever seen in my adult life go on in American politics. It still makes me want to throw up to this day. Accusing someone of attempted rape in her telling of the story in front of tens of millions of Americans, with his wife and children watching, all of his friends, all of his colleagues, everybody he knew, and it was all a lie. It was all a lie. How could you do that to somebody? Bearing false witness in that way. I don't know how she sleeps at night, except maybe she's so loony that she believes what she said. That is possible. I've always thought that was possible. So in that sense, she wasn't knowingly lying, but the story nonetheless was a lie. but they are celebrating her specifically for that, for the ritualized, televised torture and humiliation session of a very good, very decent, and very impressive man. But there is and has been for a long time a bitterness and a vitriol that is at the heart of the leftist feminist movement. There is a kind of man-hatred that emanates from it. There's no question about it. A desire to bring men who are viewed as the white heterosexual, normative white heterosexual patriarchal figures, members of the patriarchy, to bring them low, to destroy them, to humiliate and degrade them. They deserve it, you see. Christine Blasey-Ford getting awards from people now. Who could have seen this coming? Anybody who wasn't an idiot. I saw it coming. You saw it coming. None of this is a surprise, my friends, not in the least. But the media was willing to pretend that it would be. And that tells you so much about who they are and what they really stand for. Appalling stuff. Oh, speaking of feminism, Charlie's Angels has had a remake now, a remake that is staffed with actresses. One of them is from the Twilight movie, and then I don't know what which I don't think I saw that. Maybe I saw the first one, and the others I have not. The others I don't know who they are. But Elizabeth Banks remade this movie. She's a pretty well-known actress for the a cappella movies that she made. Pitch Perfect. And so she made those movies. Those movies did very well. But then they tried to do a remake of Charlie's Angels, which, why anyone would think that would be, this is what we have to spend, $100 million on, or $50 million, or whatever it is. And you just look at this, and you look at the script, and a feminist twist on Charlie's Angels, which is really a show / movie about very, very beautiful women doing daring things, but really the fact that they're all very, very beautiful is really important in this whole process. So there's an inherent objectification of women, you would think, that would be as a result of this. And which is, of course, the norm in Hollywood. They pretend that it's not, but still, I mean, if you want, beautiful women still sell tickets to things. I mean, beautiful women are still the reason a lot of people want to go see things. And we can say, oh, that's superficial, but there are some biological realities that we all still have to live with, at least for the time being, until they try to rewrite all the biological realities on the left. No person would really think that this was a good idea for a movie. Right? I mean, this is just, you hear about this and you say, oh, this is kind of like the feminist Ghostbusters that they made. Oh, let's have a Ghostbusters, but with all women. And it's sort of a girl power take on Ghostbusters. It was the worst movie. I've watched about 15 minutes of it. I mean, I think you could argue it might have been the worst movie ever made. I mean, that's a tough, for its budget and expectations. You have to make that relative, right? I mean, Leprechaun 5, Leprechaun in the Hood was probably a worse movie. I did watch that movie, much to my everlasting shame. As well as Leprechaun in Space. There was a Leprechaun in Space movie. They made a lot of those Leprechaun movies. I'm the Leprechaun. I could still, I'm part Irish, so I could still do the, I'm the Leprechaun. I remember when Mike Myers did his whole thing in Wayne's World 2 with the flashlight in his face. He's like, I'm the Leprechaun. The flashlight. It was kind of scary, actually, because that little Leprechaun guy. Fun fact, that's actually Warwick Davis, who played the lead character in the movie Willow, which was really a cheap ripoff of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which I know people say, oh, Willow was its own book and stuff, but I mean, come on. It's kind of like poor man's Lord of the Rings. But yeah, Warwick Davis was in that movie, and then he played the Leprechauns later on, or played the Leprechaun, I should say, later on. But nobody really thinks that Charlie's Angels is going to be a good movie, right? I mean, you ask a normal person, just like you ask a normal person, do you think that this is going to be? No. It made like $8 million domestically. It's bombing in China. It's bombing in the United States. It's a terrible movie. What do you think the director and now the woke media journos out there are saying is the reason for this tremendous flop that's going to cost the studio millions and millions and millions of dollars? Just up in smoke. What do you think the reason? That it was a bad idea, that people don't want to watch a feminist remake of Charlie's Angels, that Charlie's Angels really is rooted in what would be considered, I think, patriarchal notions of women and beauty and everything else. So a girl power Charlie's Angels is probably gonna flop. And what do you think they say? Oh, that's right, sexism. Sexism. That's right. That's why it's not doing well as a movie, which I would note is the same thing they said about the horrifically bad Ghostbusters movie, which is almost worth watching because you think to yourself, wow, are there different standards for a lot of female comedians than male comedians? As in, the female comedians cast in that movie, are they able to be famous in their profession and rich without actually being any good at what they do? It's a fair question to ask if you see that movie. Say, do female comedians have to even be funny in the current environment? Or they just have to be female and comedians and take the right political stances sometimes? That movie was so unfunny that it was painful. I'm not going to see Charlie's Angels. I didn't even see the last one, which had Cameron Diaz back in her heyday. Although really Cameron Diaz's best role was as the romantic lead in the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey. What happened to Jim Carrey? That guy got super unfunny and really annoying very fast, didn't he, as he got older? Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu, and I'm forgetting who the third one was. Maybe it was Drew Barrymore, which is kind of a surprise. Anyway, sexism is the reason that this movie is bombing. See, this is the problem we have with wokeness in Hollywood. They have these built-in excuses. So even when the market speaks, they will ignore it. Even when the market tells them people just don't want to see this movie, which is completely unsurprising, there's some rationalization for why it has done so poorly. The only way that you can understand how Hollywood makes such bad movies and takes such huge financial risks behind them is that there is such an ideological tilt to the left that it blinds them, that they are unable to be objective about these things sometimes. And they assume that there must be a much broader support for these ideas as shown to us through film than there will be. And that's why they're willing to risk so much money on what are just obviously bad ideas. But then again, in this piece I read about it, they said that the Jumanji remake made a lot of money. So I guess maybe they figure they just also roll the dice with remakes sometimes on these franchises, and people will just go see it if they want to go see it. I don't know. There's a little bit of, I get pulled in the, is this all just about social justice and wokeness that they make these bad decisions, or are they just, Hollywood executives are risk averse and lazy? And it could be a combination of both. Oh, and speaking of using sexism as a response, as a justification for failure in the realm of whether it's art or politics, as we know, I talked about it last week, Hillary Clinton, who still claims that there was some sexism at work with her not winning the presidency, not her terribleness as a candidate, utter lack of likability, utter lack of authenticity. That's not the reason that she didn't win the presidency. No, it's because everyone's just so sexist. Bill Maher had this to say about Hillary. Play clip 8, please.
This week, Hillary Clinton said, no.
She did win.
Just no.
She got more votes than anybody else.
Well, someone needs to put some Xanax in her hot sauce because listen, here's her quote. She said, I say never, never, never say never. I will certainly tell you I'm under enormous pressure from many, many people to think about it. Yes, those are called Trump supporters.
First of all, notice I don't even know who was on the panel there. I couldn't tell from the voice, but that this is another story. We talked before about Trump is an imposter. Here's somebody who's on a political show, who I assume is a political expert, saying that Hillary won. They'll say this openly. They'll say that Hillary won, and we're supposed to just accept this. Oh, we have By the way, Stacey Abrams, somebody else who just pretends that the current governor of Georgia is an imposter, that she really won. And, oh, by the way, the system is rigged. Would you play clip 20, please?
Electoral college is racist and classist. We have to remember the Electoral College was not designed because people were worried about Idaho not having enough votes. We didn't know about Idaho. What we did know, we didn't. But what we did know was that in the South, the populations in the South had equal or roughly equal populations to the North. However, because black people were not considered human or citizens, they wanted their bodies to count for the purposes of the population count, but not their humanity. And the Electoral College was designed to give southern states the ability to count the bodies of slaves, but not have to allow them to cast votes. And thus the Electoral College was born as a compromise. The other challenge was that in the North, a lot of them didn't want immigrants making decisions, and they didn't believe that immigrants and that those who were not considered well-educated should be making decisions about who the executive of our nation should be. So it was a combination of racism and classism. Both of those things should be flung to the far reaches of history, and the Electoral College needs to go.
So Stacey Abrams has essentially no understanding of the system of federalism that we have in this country and the states and the way that the states play into our system of, and she was going to be the governor of a state, and she thinks she won that election, but let's just put all that aside for a moment. Classism, sexism, racism. Democrats lose, pick one of those three. That's the reason. Hillary Clinton loses, sexism. Or Russia, Trump cheated. But Stacey Abrams loses, he cheated. And also sexism, racism, et cetera, et cetera. Over time, these bad faith criticisms have an impact. People start to think, well, maybe I guess there could be some truth to this. Is that really what's going on? Let's circling just back to Hillary Clinton, if I can, for a moment. I disagree with Mr. Bill Maher here, that the people who want Hillary to run are Republicans. I think there are a lot of Democrats who want Hillary to run because they say Trump's an imposter. They say he didn't really win the election. How can you set right what wrong was done in 2016 better than having the rightful, quote unquote, president of the United States from 2016 finally take her place in the Oval Office? The best repudiation of Trump that they could really have, I think even more so, if you were just talking about this, forget about what is possible and just talk about what would be the ultimate victory for the left. Hillary beating Trump would be the thing that would make them happier than I think anything else. So I don't discount what she says here, even though she is kind of crazy. I don't discount that there are people telling her to run, and I don't think they're Republicans. I think that there are a lot of very powerful Democrats who want her to get back in.
It was a convenient place to stay. I've gone through this in my mind so many times. At the end of the day, with the benefit of all the hindsight that one could have, it was definitely the wrong thing to do. But at the time, I felt it was the honourable and right thing to do. And I admit fully that my judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable, but that's just the way it is.
Wow. Prince Andrew of the royal family, which I'm one of these people who says modern industrialized and rule of law countries shouldn't have royal families. I don't understand why this is complicated, but it is for some people. Prince Andrew, second son of Queen Elizabeth of the royal family here, talking about why is it that he not only hung out with Epstein and was officially accused of having sex with a girl who was being sex trafficked by the girl on sworn affidavit, now a woman, of course, but was a girl at the time. Why did he not? So those allegations are already out there. And there's a photo, which I've mentioned to you, of Andrew holding Virginia Giuffre, I believe is how you say her name now, I think it was, I forget her name from before she was married, but when she was 14 or 15 years old, and he's holding her around the waist very closely. And this is not his daughter. This is not a relative. What is going on here? The photo itself is suspicious, to say the least. Suspicious. He's a middle-aged guy at the time. You know, he's not 20 hanging out with a 16-year-old. It's not like, oh, maybe they were high school friends or peers or something. No, he's like 50 and she's 14. So just their mere presence together, I'm not even talking about having any relations, just their mere presence together is strange, right? It's suspicious. So he is now trying to explain in this BBC interview, which has been pretty much by every analysis I've read. I've seen some clips of it. I didn't watch the whole thing because I don't think I really have to, because I get it, what's going on with this guy. They've called it nuclear explosion level bad. And he makes claims in it that are just not credible to people watching. Like he says, first of all, that his honor led him to go and break off his friendship with Epstein over the course of a few days, staying at his home here in New York City, after Epstein had already been convicted of sex crimes involving underage girls. You don't think a phone call or a text message can get that one done? You got to go spend a few days at his house when he's a convicted sex offender, and you are not just some guy, you are part of the royal family for whatever that means. Does anyone care to explain that one? Anyone care to have a... That's a strange claim for our British royal to make. And then he went on to say that none of this even sounds like him, that it's not like him to go partying and be around, young women in this way. And he made these claims in his interview, and then people started producing photos of him where, no, it does seem like he likes to be around attractive women and women who are considerably younger than his. So why lie about that? Not even talking about underage girls or relations, sexual relations with them in violation of law, just in general. Why hold yourself up as somebody that you are not? Why would you use this? This is his come clean moment, isn't it? This is his... This is the time in which you would want to be as honest as possible if honesty was in your favor. But I think we all know that this did not look good for him, perhaps because honesty is not in his favor. Jeffrey Epstein, he admits, it's a bad idea that he was friends with him. Well, he was quite close with him. This guy also shows us that aristocracies are not sending us their best. You could say that. This guy is deeply unimpressive, and that I can't imagine anyone coming away from this thinking anything other than this was a disaster for him. A disaster for him because the truth is not on his side. And then it brings me to something else here. And I'm just going to continue to bring this up as I can because, I don't have the time and the resources to, I'm not running a major newsroom with 1,000 reporters or something, so I can't assign anyone to do this. But I just refuse to believe the following. Or rather, let me walk you through my thinking, and then I'll tell you what I refuse to believe. There's another report out today that Epstein had set up peephole cameras to catch people in intimate moments at his various super high-end properties where we know for a fact there was the trafficking of underage girls as sex slaves. So he was taking video of people. He had set this up. It was elaborate. Why is it that we haven't heard any new names of any individuals who were involved in this? And here's another question. Are we really to believe that Epstein had set up a very elaborate blackmail operation? There's substantial reporting, another report today in the New York Post about this. One of the women that he was trafficking saying, look, he had cameras in all these places. Why have we found out nothing? Why is there no evidence? Did he not? Was he setting up cameras and wasn't recording anything? Because that would seem completely counterintuitive. I don't believe that for a second. That makes no sense. So he was recording people. Is there evidence of people being recorded? Have we seen any of this? So we have no additional names from the ones that have already been named. And we have no presentation or no reporting from law enforcement side of any evidence that they have come across that shows people engaged in illicit acts with underage girls, which would seem to be the whole purpose of Epstein's blackmail network in the first place. At what point does this start to feel like something not credible is going on here in the process of getting the answers? Don't get me started on like the hyoid bone and all. At what point does it seem like maybe nobody really wants to get these answers? We just had Prince Andrew give his whole, hey, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, well, he certainly didn't convince me with the interview based on what I've read from the transcript and the clips that I've seen. Some very strange things this guy said. Does anyone want to dig into this story a bit more? Well, I really do believe that some of the people who are implicated, and we know one of them was president of the United States for 8 years and a Democrat, okay? People that are implicated as at least being very close to Epstein and should have known about Epstein. I think that there's just a fear even among people. Maybe some journalists haven't found this stuff yet, but they don't even really want to find it because of what it would mean. What it would mean for people that they perhaps have idolized or have thought were necessary for a cause or necessary for political victory. Keep in mind that, Hillary Clinton is probably not going to run for president again, but the Clinton name is still very much a political dynasty. And Chelsea Clinton I'm the same guy who told you Blasey-Ford was going to be getting awards and stuff, and here we are. Chelsea Clinton is going to run for office. And she's probably going to win, not necessarily the presidency, but she'll be a senator from New York. She just pick a state. Be senator from that blue state, no problem. She's boring. She's unimpressive. Never had to actually have a real job in her life, but she will be. So there's a desire, a recognition among journalists, a recognition among the institutional left to protect the Clinton name. Could that be factoring into why we don't get any more information about the Epstein situation? That certainly seems plausible. We know he's on. I'm not just pulling him in out of nowhere. We know he was on the plane a whole bunch of times. We know that he was hanging out. They were friends, Epstein and Bill Clinton. Is that why? Because there's such a lack of, it seems, of interest from the mainstream media, from these huge news organizations with tremendous resources to get answers here. Everything we've been told, this guy committed suicide in prison under shady circumstances. That was a huge black eye for the Bureau of Prisons at a minimum. I mean, depending on who you talk to, also there's other stuff that maybe was involved here. Perhaps Epstein was. I've never thought that he was killed. I do think that there is a plausible way to get to maybe this guy was allowed to kill himself, so to speak. There's plenty of evidence you could point to that says, okay, well, he's the first person in the history of the Manhattan Correctional Facility in New York that was able to successfully commit suicide under these circumstances. It's been around for 40 years, folks. First one. There's people there right now. People that are held every day. First guy. Just happened to be this guy. It's a big coincidence. A lot of big coincidence. We're being asked. I'm telling you, they didn't touch the story for how many years initially? So it would really be the media's willingness to just not pay any attention to this whole situation would be in keeping with what they've done in the past. Something is up here. I have ideas. I do not have proof, but there is something going on. Continue to pay attention to this. You're going to have to read a little bit between the lines. You have to pay attention to the subtleties and the subtext, because there are a lot of very powerful people who do not want to get to the bottom of what was really going on here. We know ABC News was willing to skip past this because of access to the royal family. Now we see one of these royal family guys. How do you think ABC News should feel about this?
It's time for roll call.
Facebook.com/Buck Sexton or TeamBuck at iHeartMedia.com. And also, of course, please spread the word about Channel 248 on Pluto TV, a free app you can download if you're listening to this podcast or this as a radio show. You can watch what's going on here in the Freedom Hut, see the clips that I talk about, see me and producer Mark. You at least hear him. You can't really see him yet. We're working on that. Doing our thing here in the Freedom Hut. Channel 248, the first on Pluto TV. And also, I'm getting notes from people saying that someone told them about the podcast and they now listen to it and it's their favorite podcast. Let's keep that going, shall we? Please, please make that happen. Tell somebody about the show this week. It is a huge compliment and help to us here in the show we put out every day. Tell them they can listen to the podcast anytime they want. iTunes, iHeartRadio app, you name it, wherever you listen to podcasts, The Buck Sexton Show. All right. Stacy, I read the daily up first email from Pluto TV. There were some spelling errors. Thanks and shield side. All right, Stacy. I'll make sure that we get some more proofreading going there. Let's see here. John. Hold on a second. Whoa. John, this is like 1,000 words, so I can't read this on air right now, but I will read it when I can. Adam, Buck, disagree on Emilio Estevez and his best movie. I would put Men at Work in the top spot. Shields high. Adam, I appreciate your opinion despite the fact that it is wrong. Young Guns is clearly better than Men at Work. I would put this out of the realm of opinion and into the realm of fact. Facts first, my friend. I don't even remember. I saw Men at Work. I don't even remember. Isn't it like garbage men who come upon some plot to get rid of like toxic waste or something? Producer Mark, did you see it?
No. But isn't his best movie, other than The Mighty Ducks,
Right.
maybe Breakfast Club?
Ooh. I was getting ready to make fun of your addition into this, and actually now I have to respect that. The Breakfast Club might, in fact, be...
I mean, it's number 2 behind the Mighty Ducks trilogy, but...
Right. Well, we've already established that you're wrong about the Mighty Ducks, but I'm just trying to...
You've never even seen it, so you can't call me wrong on that.
All right. That's technically true.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I think The Breakfast Club would have to be in the very top... Young Guns is a very entertaining movie, though. But Men at Work is also the name of... I think, an Australian band? Who could it be knocking at my door?
Yeah, it sounds like a band.
Right? Are they Australian, or am I thinking of, like...
I don't know.
I don't know. No, they're not Australian. Oh, it's tough to tell. Those Brits, those Aussies, when they sing, all of a sudden the fancy accent disappears. Oh, when you sing, you actually sound like an American. Isn't that crazy how that happens like that?
It's very rare that singers have an accent.
No, they don't. When you sing,
Exactly,
you sound
don't.
like, because this is the way, if you're going to make the sounds that we make with our mouths, you speak American. That's what I'm trying to say. We do it the right way.
Yes.
We're not like, oh, we just talk like this all the time because it sounds so cool.
It does sound cool. You can't deny that. It sounds cool.
I know. It's such a huge advantage for people in this business who are like, oh, I've got a British accent. So now I'll go on television and everyone will think what I say is so smart.
Does it work the same way the other way around? If we go to London with an American accent?
Nope, they make fun of us.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, my name is Bob and I'm from Chicago. That's how they always do American accents in the UK. It's totally true. They think we all sound like that. Kind of like almost like a Midwestern meets New York accent.
Yes.
Like with their mouths really tight and talking like this. Because I have a lot of British friends, so I know that's what they do. They make fun of us. Whatever. 1776. Boom. All I got to say. Let's see. Richard writes, Buck. So Virginia is going to pass the Equal Rights Amendment, which expired something like 30 years ago. But the Dems say they're going to change the deadline, so there is no deadline. How is the Dems can say that states can't rescind the amendment, as 4 states have, but it's going to take the ERA ignoring, or take up the ERA ignoring the 7-year, Richard, I don't know I don't even know what this is, man. I got to look this up. I'm not up on the Equal Rights Amendment in Virginia stuff, so I'm sorry. I got nothing. For once, I have nothing to really add into the scenario here. Michael says, ask producer Mark about the movie Slapshot. I've never even heard of this movie.
You've never seen Slapshot?
No.
It's the best hockey movie other than the Mighty Ducks ever made.
Is it funny or is it
It's hilarious, yeah.
Who's in it?
The Hanson Brothers? No.
No, come on.
No, it's the Hanson Brothers.
The kids from Bop?
No. The Hanson Brothers are the main characters. I don't think that's their actual names in real life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like...
It's based on a minor league hockey team, but it is hilarious.
Because I would argue that the song Bop is the most annoying song that has ever been a successful song in America. Even more annoying than the Venga Boys, the Venga Bus is Coming, and the Macarena.
Who Let the Dogs Out?
I think Bop might be the most annoying song ever recorded in America.
I like Bop.
I don't even know what to say to you right now.
What's wrong with Bop?
I just, folks. He's under a lot of pressure. He's getting married in a couple weeks, so we're just gonna let him. We're just gonna let him have his.
Have you ever heard of pregnancy brain? I have wedding brain. It's a new thing.
There we go. He's saying it. Team, that's gonna be it for the show today. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed doing it. I'll talk to you tomorrow and every day this week. Oh, that's right. Shields high.